what I'm going to do is kind of, after seeing all these presentations and hearing all these stories, what's kind of the common thread? What would be like the essence that you can take out of these initiatives and these organizations that probably you will start seeing when you connect so many different stories? What will be the main traits of effective conservation initiatives? The first one that you will see is that these organizations, these initiatives, they commit in the long term and they have long-term presence in a territory. It could be the sea, it could be an island, it could be a grassland, it could be a rainforest, it doesn't matter. They go there and they stay there. All of them at least for 20 years. So it isn't like, I'm an NGO or whatever and I work with wetlands and then I go to a place for 3 years, I get a life project or whatever for 5 years, then I move to another one and I keep jumping from one place to another. If you want to have effect, you need to commit and you need to stay in the area. All of them, you will see that. Okay? Some of them started big, some of them started slow, but they all kept presence and commitment. See that? It doesn't matter if it's farmland in the UK, grasslands, rainforests, prairies in North America, all long-term commitment and involvement. The next one, all of them in general, they focus not only in playing defense, they like to play offense. They like to restore things. They focus on improving the situation of what they got. Okay? You can call it rewilding, you can call it ecological restoration, I don't care. Okay? It's about not being content with stopping threats and keeping things the way they are. They all try to get things in a better situation, which means recovering endangered species. In other cases, it's about reintroducing species, translocating species, bringing ecological replacements, okay? And these are some of the species that they work with, okay? It could be butterflies in the UK, it could be a highly endangered bird, or mammals that you are moving from one place to another. And all of them, the only way they can survive in the long term and have effect is establishing strong partnerships with local stakeholders. They don't live in an isolated area, disconnected with the people that are there. This could be, as you see there, this could be Aboriginal people, could be farmers, could be rangers, it could be a cowboy in Montana, it could be farmers in the UK. You work with your neighbors, they are different than you, sometimes you don't like them, sometimes you like them more, but you work with them and you establish positive relations with them. Because if not, you're not going to get results, and you're not going to be resilient in the long term, socially and politically. And once you get that, you start getting support at multiple levels. That's when the machinery starts really working. You get funding from outside. I think all of them are getting funding from other places. You get political support, national government. You make agreements with the president, with the minister, with the local mayors. You get support from local associations. You get support from the media. You create a constituency of people that is diverse and they support you against attacks or against other things and they keep you going, okay? So why not so many people do it? Because it's challenging, okay? So each one of these parts, you will see that they have challenges. The first one, how to keep funding in the long term in an area. How can you keep people funding you or get financial resources for 20, 30, 40 years. That's hard, okay? Instead of following the money, you have to bring the money to where you work. The second one, and that came clearly in 22 here in our translocation meeting, and I see several people that were there, moving animals, doing restoration, it takes a lot of paperwork, and in many cases, the first thing that you have to manage is conflict and resistance from your colleagues. That came clearly in 22 of all of us who have worked with translocations or reintroductions or anything that is about proactive restoration. The first line of conflict is your colleagues. And you have to convince them, and here in Spain, you can hear these fights all the time. The white-tailed eagle, I see my brother there, the osprey in the Valencian community, and you start seeing all these papers. A note of opinion in science, they shouldn't be do that because of the genetic of blah, blah, blah. There's lots of resistance from the conservation world for people who want to do restoration. And when you go there and you talk with the civil servants and the government, the paperwork is a nightmare. The people in India, they say it. The people in Argentina, they say it. The people in Europe, they say it. It's common to all of us. So that's challenging. It takes abilities, and it takes patience, and it takes persistence. So doing rewilding or doing restoration is hard in that sense. And also to build a strong partnerships with local stakeholders requires a lot of time, because building trust takes time compared to getting money, for example. That could be faster. Or being cool on YouTube or on Instagram, that's faster. But building trust with local people, that takes years. And also it requires new skills. Because typically, I don't know, 70% of us or something like that, we come from science and technical background, and then you have to learn things, a new trade that you weren't prepared technically and probably psychologically. So this is difficult. And at the end, once you start getting this support at multiple levels, that creates an organizational complexity. I mean, you've seen these stories of this NGO that were four friends together coming from university, and if they survive and they become larger, they have to reinvent themselves. They start hiring people for fundraising, communication, HR, okay? That's complex, and you have to reinvent yourself. So this is kind of what you're going to see these days. You're going to see this, it doesn't matter the continent or the ecosystem. The good thing is, if you are able to create this cycle going, you can grow, and you can grow, and you can increase your effect and your impact in the world. But then, that's the last challenge. And probably I would like to talk about this with the CEOs the last day. How avoiding losing your soul in the process. Okay? When you become really, really big, how to maintain your DNA, your vision, and not becoming some kind of big machine that is looking after keeping salaries and keeping donors happy. So that's a challenge in itself, because growth is doesn't come for free. So that's, again, you have to evolve and change your DNA while you keep the best parts of your original soul and DNA. Thank you so much.